Okay, guys. Yeah, today also I'm going to revise the exception concepts. Okay, before going to start the revision, so yeah, I want to know about what is exception first of all. How much you understood from the concept exception handling. So till now, whatever you are discussing the last classes, based on that, I can revise it. So what is exception, guys? Anyone? Just what is exception? No one knows. Did you gone through the document which I have given, guys? No. Guys, one thing here, if you are not revising, if you are not understanding, if you are not practicing, there is no point of attending the classes. That's one thing I'm telling you. Maybe you are simply namesake, you are maybe attending means there is no use. Okay, once if you are joining into the company, then you will face a lot of problems. So you can't do anything. So even you can't touch the keypad also. So you don't know where to write, what to write also. Okay, if you're not practicing and if you're not understanding all these things, then it's very difficult to survive in the industry. So after that, up to you guys. Okay, whether you are practicing or not, that is up to you. So I can tell you only practices. I can suggest, but I can't force you, right? Okay, let me revise it. So normally exceptions. Till now we are discussing of writing of small programs, addition, multiplication, normal things, right? So whenever you are doing of any code, okay, normally you're writing the some programs, so it is not 100% like it will work in all the scenarios. There may be some positive scenarios and there may be some negative scenarios. Okay, so we can't say like 100% our core will 100% without any without any issue, without any error, our code will execute in all the scenarios. Okay, so there may be some situations our code will fail to execute that application. Our code may fail to complete that program execution. So in that case, so in the middle of the program, wherever that in the negative scenario, okay, let's say 1 second. Mm, Class test. Fine. Any method you can take it, guys. Okay, it doesn't matter. So you are writing of statement one. Okay, statement one. Okay, so like that you are writing of lot of lines of code in your functions. Okay, in your classes. Okay, then in the middle of the program, in the middle of the program, you are writing string s equal to null. Anything, guys, not only this. And so after this, I'm trying to find the length of the string s. What is the value of string s? What is the value of string s, guys? It is of some null value is there, right? So in this case, if you are not finding the length, okay, system.out.println of simply if you are printing yes, no issues. Okay, if you are trying to print the length of the string, so already it is null is there. If you are finding the length of the string, then in this case already s value is null. Okay, default s value is null. Okay, then in that case if you are trying to call the length of this, then it will give off null pointer exception. Null pointer exception, this is one scenario. Okay, let's take it off one more scenario. Let's take it off one more scenario. And normally arithmetic exception throwing, right? Int a equal to 10, b equal to normal value is there means normal value is there means no issue. System.out.println of a by b. Okay, In this case, no issue. This is a just a positive scenario, just assume. Okay. If the values is coming as dynamically, the b value is coming as 0. B value is coming as 0. Then our program will not work. After this line 11, after line number 11, the rest of the code will not execute by the JVM. It will stop after this line. At this line, you got some exception. Okay, it is of some infinity value is coming, so you don't know how to handle that exception. Okay, then in that case, what it will do? It will come out of that program. The rest of the lines of the code will not execute. Okay, that will call. Sorry. Yes, please. Yes, for every method we need to handle the exception. Then only we'll come to know which method is throwing the error, right? Otherwise, if only one method is handling means it's not the correct. All the methods, in all the methods, whichever the lines of code, out of all these lines, which line is causing the issue, guys? Let's say instead of this, int j equal to a by b. So normally, which line is causing the issue in out of all these lines? In the method, how many lines is there? We have, we have, we have around 4 to yeah, 9 lines code is there inside this method, right? Inside this method, 3, 10 lines of code is there. So out of this 10 lines of code, which line is causing the issue? The problem is causing of line number 8. No, in this case, only simply it will print null. Okay. Now, or else, let's take it off. Example 1. So, why no, simply call of m1 method I am calling. Okay. And 10 comma 5. So just I'm writing directly method, guys. It will create the method, private method. Okay. Now inside this, I am passing one string value also. Okay. Inside this, I am passing some string also, the puja. Okay. Now it will take a string. Yes. So now m1 method contains how many parameters, guys? M1 method contains how three parameters. Two is integer, one is string value. Correct? Now I'm doing some calculations inside the I'm doing some calculations inside the it is just assume I'm writing some message start of M1 method. Right? Start of M1 method. Now of end of M1 method also right in between we'll write some code. End of M1 method. So in between I'm doing of some calculations. Okay. Int j equal to or else print I value and j value. System dot out that println. So I value is I value is just print I. Okay. And next j value. Just for namesake, I'm writing some multiple lines of code. Okay. J value is j. Okay. After that, I am doing some calculations. Int result of division equal to I by j. Okay. I by j. System dot out dot println of result is as result. Okay. Also, you can keep don't both are must be same. Okay. You can keep res also. Okay. Res. Now after that, we are getting of third value string also, right? Okay. System dot out dot println of string name variable name I'm giving as name. The name is plus NAME. Okay. Now next system.out.print ln of length of the name. Length is name length is NA name dot len length name dot length. So or else we can control X and then int length. Okay, I'm giving here as length variable. Now totally how many lines of code in our program, guys? So from 11 to 19. Okay, it is of 9 lines of code is there in the M1 method. Okay, or divide method. Okay, divide method I am calling. So let's call off this method. Okay, so this divide method where I am calling, guys. Yes. So they will start execution from where? Main method, right? Inside method, inside main method we are calling divide method. Okay. Now let's even write here some main method started. Okay, and end. Even so, when the main method will close the execution of main method after completion of the last line number 8, correct or not? Whenever in this line it will finish off all this code execution. Okay, after that only it will call off line number 8. Okay, now let's all values are given as everything is fine. Now let's run the program. Now let's run the program. So let's see all the result. Main method is first, which line is executed? Line number 6, correct? Main method started. Next, which we are calling of one method. Method is divide method, which taking of three parameters. Three parameters. So then it will go to the, it will call of a divide method. Okay. Next, what is the statement that is there? Start of M1. This statement is executed. Okay. Next, I value is printed. This one. So next, J value is printed in this line. Okay. Next, result is calculated. Okay, and that result value is printed in this line, right? Result is 2. Okay, next, name what we have entered is given in the function puja. What is the length of the length is identified by using length method, name dot length. Okay, it will give how many characters is available in the name. Okay, now it is giving of length is 5. Okay, that 5 I am printing, name length is 5. This value is printed. After that, the end of main method is completed. Then once it is completed its execution, the control will goes back to this line. Okay, the method is completed and it will continue of next line again. Okay, that's what is added at the end. Main is end. Okay, this is what the everything is positive means. Everything is in the positive scenario. Okay, is it clear up to now? First, now if you are moving to some other scenario, this is positive scenario. Just assume if I am passing my value as 0, if I am passing my value as 0, then somewhere it will break the application. Okay, now let's see what all things it will print. Now this is the output. If we are giving, this is the output. If we are giving, everything is correct, means positive scenario. Now I changed my value as 5 is 0. Now let's run it. Now let's take the output and then compare it both. Second, what happened? Other view. Let's compare. Compare is not there. Yeah. Now let's see. The first line is okay. Both are having same. Correct. First line, both are having same result. Next, start of the method is also there. Both lines are having same. Okay. Let's increase the font size. Zoom in. Zoom. Okay. Now you're able to see, right? Next line is also same. On third line is also same. Fourth line is also same, right? After fifth line, in the positive scenario, we got the result is 2, right? 10 by 5 is, it is giving 2. But in this case, 10 by 0 is, after the result itself, the rest of the lines is code is not executed. Is it correct or not? Right? So it is stopping my other lines of code is not executing because of this exception. 10 by 0 is giving as infinity, right? So that infinity is not handled by JVM. It is throwing some exception, right? So whenever throwing some exception in the line number, see in the test 1, line number 15 divided by 0, line number 15 is throwing some exception. Okay. What is exception? It is arithmetic exception is throwing. Divide by 0 is there. So please handle that value. Please pass some positive value, some different value. Okay. Now, so in this case, if we are handling the exception, okay, let it come exception, no issue. Let it come exception, no issue. But I want to execute of the rest of the lines also. But I want to execute. It's not stop my execution of other lines of code. Okay, even though this line is giving some error. Which line? Line number 15 is causing some issue. No issue. Okay, fine. That is a negative scenario. But I don't want to stop up. My rest of the lines code should execute. Okay, correct or not? In that case, how to handle that? How to handle that rest of the lines code? Rest of the lines code also should execute. How to handle that means by using try, catch, throws, and finally. These are the keywords. By using that, we can handle that. Okay. Now just read this program line of para and then we'll see. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, sir. So because of this line is causing issue, right? So we need to write this statement in try block. Now coming to the what is block. Now coming to you are maybe having some doubt. What is block, right? Now let's wait or else close it. Now, so what is this, guys? If I'm writing static and then open bracket and close bracket, what is this? It is a yes, it is a static block. Correct. If I'm not giving anything name and then if I'm open bracket and close bracket, then it is called non-static block. Super. Now, if I'm writing try open bracket and close bracket, then we'll call it as a try block. Then we'll call it as a try block. If I'm writing catch of exceptions and then open bracket and close bracket, then we can say it is a catch block. Okay. Now let's say finally open bracket and close bracket. Then I can say it is a finally block. Is it clear what is exactly what is try block? So inside this static block, I can write system.out.println of okay some statements. System.out.println of hi. Some lines of code I'm writing. Okay. Here also I'm writing some lines of code. Hello. Okay. Now, like this, here also I can write same lines of code. Okay, some lines of code I'm writing inside. I'm writing inside these blocks. Then I can say these are the statements. Okay, or else we can call it as a lines of code. We can say I written two lines of code inside static block. I written two lines of code in the non-static block. I written two lines of code in the try block. let's assume inside this we need to write the code which is like whichever is causing an exception, which lines of code is throwing an exception in. If you have doubt, yes, this line may throw an exception in future, in some scenarios, in some negative scenarios, then those lines of code we need to write inside try block. By this time you should understood what type of statements, what lines of code that we need to write inside try block. Okay, inside try block we need to write the lines of code which cause an exception, which can throw an exception in future. Okay, those lines of code only we need to write inside try block. Is it clear first? Throw the exception. Yes, obviously we are developing minds, we should know, right? While testing, let's say we are developing these lines of code. Okay, at the time of okay, you are writing all this code, right? So initially you may don't know. Initially, at the time of writing this code, you don't know. So after some time you will test it, right? After some time you will test it. Now in this case we will give as positive values, and then you will see, yes, my code is working fine, everything is giving result. So sometimes you test off some negative scenarios also. This is positive scenario. Okay, sometimes you will test off some negative scenarios also. You will pass off some zero and some different values, and you will try. Then in that case, yes, yeah, my code is not working, so I think something is went wrong, so I need to handle this exception. Then you will come to know that. Okay, clear? So while you are writing the code, you will test in different scenarios. Okay, that time you will identify, because of this line, because of line number 9, yes, it is giving us some exception, that is called as if I am passing negative value or some zero value, it is giving some exception, that is called arithmetic exception. So in that case, my rest of the lines of code is not executing, so I must and should handle this exception, otherwise my program will never execute fully. Okay, then in that case, what you will do means, you will write this line of code in try block. Okay, and this result, everything is success means result is there, so that result value also you will keep inside. These both are related, right? This result is coming, that value we are displaying here. Okay, both are related values. Okay, now, so if any exception is coming, if any exception is coming in this line number 16, then we need to catch that exception. Okay, what is the exception? That is arithmetic exception, correct or not? So whatever the exceptions that is throwing by the try block, that exceptions will be handled in, that exceptions will be handled in catch block. What is the exception that is throwing, guys? Because of arithmetic. Yes. So whatever the exception that is throwing, that we need to write a catch block with that respective exception. Okay. With that exception, we need to create one catch block, and inside this catch block, you can catch. Okay. And inside this exception, you write arithmetic exception e, and then here system.out.println of so please pass j value is non-zero. Non-zero. Is it clear? I think this is some valid message, right? Please pass j value is non-zero. If it is zero means it is throwing some exception, right? If we are seeing this message, so will you understood that why it is causing the error, and what is the, is it proper message, right? Instead of giving off all this nonsense, is it better or not? Get message. Give get message or get or to string. Okay, to string, just print it. Now let's handle it. Now run it again. Will all the statements will execute or not? Is all statements are executed or not? Even The exception is throwing. Even line number 16 is throwing exception. Okay, that exception is catched by the catch block, and it is giving some message. Please pass J value is non-zero. Please pass J value is non-zero. And what is the exception that is throwing? It is throwing of arithmetic exception divide by 0. By seeing this, you should understood that. So compared to instead of stopping the execution in the middle, so this is better than that or not? Yes, no. This exception will come, okay? This exception will come to the developer in the logs, okay? As well as if you want to pass the same exception message to the user also, that also we can pass, okay? That by using of some user defined exception, that message will pass in some string value somewhere, so that it will be reached in the response. That it will be in the future in the advanced Java, you will understood that. Okay, right now here it is coming means in the console it is coming here means the same value we can pass to the user also. For testing purpose I am showing a console. Okay, if the value is coming here, this message is coming here means the same value we can pass to user also. Okay, yeah. Now let's let's go on. Yeah. Yes, that's what, right. So if this line of statement is throwing some exception, you identified that this line is causing some issue. Okay, this line is causing some issue that you identified that. Okay, but what you used try and catch, correct or not? Let's say if you don't know how to handle this, if you don't know how to handle this, okay, then leave it here. Then don't write this line of code here. This who will write, who will call, who is calling this message, this method, main method, right? You have developed one message, one method. Okay, someone will call that method, right? Someone will call that method. If you don't know how to handle that exception, okay, then, and one more scenario guys, one more scenario. If I am passing I'm passing this as null. This as null. Now let's see. Let me get up some more exception again. We got a first one exception that is handled. Okay. Again in the place of name, I'm passing as null. So it is throwing again one exception. What is the exception? Why it is causing null pointer exception? On top of null, on top of null, you are trying to identify the length of null. Okay, that is the reason null dot length, it is giving null pointer exception. Okay, clear this one? Default value is null I am passing, right? So if you are calling any method on top of null, it will throw null pointer exception. Not only for string, it is for objects also, it will throw null pointer exception. Okay, so again we need to handle this exception also, right or not? Okay, again this line also we need to write try and catch null pointer exception. From the outer println name is null coming. Okay, now cos e dot get or posting, it will give some message. Now let's see, even though it is coming exception also, name is null. Okay, that means that value is coming as null. So which exception that is? Null pointer exception is coming. Please handle that. And rest of the lines of code is also executing. So like this, you are writing up some hundred of and thousands of lines. We will write it sometimes. Okay. So if you don't know, sometimes some exceptions you may not be handled. Then in that case, without using try catch, we can throw whatever the exceptions that is throwing these two. Okay, these true. Let's comment both. Okay? Now, so because of a divide method, how many exceptions it is throwing? This two exceptions. What is that? Yes. Now, if you don't know how to handle those exception in the within the method, then there is a provision to throw that out of that exceptions out of this method. I don't know how to handle that exception. Please handle this exceptions who are calling this divide method. So how to throw means by using throws, by using throws keyword in the method level. Okay, in this method, these exceptions may throw. You are calling this method, please handle that these exceptions. Exception arithmetic exception, one more is null pointer exception. So these two exceptions may throw in this method. Please handle that. Please handle in the calling place. Let's go to the calling place. Now, because of this line, it is causing two exceptions. Then you need to write this line of code whoever is calling. Okay, now compulsory we need to he need to handle that code. Okay, try and catch. Now let's this line of code inside try block. Okay, and so because of this line, two exceptions is coming, right? Now write one catch block for arithmetic exception. Okay, system dot out dot println of e dot to string. Okay, now is pass j is non-zero. Is it clear, the guys? Right? One exception is handled in the main method. There may be a chance of passing null. Okay? There may be a chance of passing null means then now let's puja. Now let's run it. Is all lines of code is executing or not? Main method is executed, start of method is executed, and jval is printed, ival is printed, jval is printed. In this line number, you don't know how to handle this exception, right? In this line, it is caused exception. Okay, then this line of code, the rest of the lines of code will not execute, and it will continue of other lines of code. It is going to see main method is also ended, the other lines is also continued. Okay, if you are not handled this exception try and catch, then this statement will not execute. Okay, and one more thing, guys, remember, wherever exception is caused, if you are not handled that, that is the last line of code that will be executed by the JVM in that method. In that method, if you are not used try and catch, and then you are throwing that exception means, then that is the last line of code that will be executed in that method. Okay, if you want to rest of the lines also execute in that method, then you need to write try and catch inside that method itself. You need to catch it, you need to handle that exception in that method only. If you want to execute the rest of the lines of code also means, then you need to handle explicitly within that method itself. Is it clear now or not? Now if I am passing null, just assume. Okay, so then in this line, now let's pass it is 2. Now, up to this line also will execute, even this line also will execute, even this line also will execute. In this line, now it will give error. We are passing null, right? Now, line number, in this line, it will throw an exception. And that exception is also not handled in the main method. Okay, only we are handled arithmetic exception, right? Now, this line of code will not execute. Now, let's see, name is null and null pointer exception is handle. Null pointer exception is throwing in the line number 28. It is throwing exception. That exception is not handled in the main method. Even that is the reason this line is not executed. Now let's catch that exception also. Okay, let's catch that exception also. Null pointer exception. That println enough. Hmm, null pointer exception is throwing because of null value. Okay, so I'm giving some message. Null pointer exception is throwing because of null value. Now let's see whether this exception will come or will everything will execute. Now what is executed? Is everything is executed or not? It is giving exception is coming. That exception is also handled. What it is giving, null pointer exception is throwing because of null value. By seeing this message, we should go and check the code. Yes, in this line the null value is coming. Because of that it is giving error. Because of that it is giving error. Then in that case what we can do is, if null is there, if null is there, then before going to that I'll check of condition. If name, if name not equal to null, name, or else name null not equal to name, null not equal to name, then only go and execute this line of code and do. If name is null is coming, there is no point of finding the length, correct or not? Right? Hello, I'm writing one more condition. If name is coming as null, it is no point of writing, it is no point of finding the length of the name, correct or not? Right? This is of one way of I am reducing that line of code. Even no need to handle in this case, correct or not? If the value is coming as, if I am removing this also, now let's see, is everything executed or not? Because if it is a name is null, I don't want to find the length of the name. Okay, or else let's will do one more thing here. Okay, if you should tell guys, I don't want to handle the arithmetic exception when if don't want to perform arithmetic exception if j value is 0, correct or not? I don't want to calculate the I don't want to do divide by 0. I don't want to do I by j operation if j value is coming as 0. Is it fine or not? If j is 0, I don't want to perform. I don't want to perform j value not equal to, where is that? Yeah, j is not equal to 0. Okay, then don't perform it. Okay, if j is not 0, then only perform this, correct or not guys? In this case we don't need to handle this catch block also, guys. Not clear? This is the way of writing code, guys. Guys, hello, are you able to hear me? Sometimes we'll get exception. Okay, on conditional base we will write off some conditions also. Okay, so then in that case, just this is some sample example, right? I'm giving some conditions, but sometimes we can't give conditions, we don't know what it will come. Okay, then in that case, so compulsory we need to write try and catch blocks. We need to use try and catch blocks. Now let's see, in this case if j value is coming as 0, even that case also it will not throw an exception, just it will print that value is I is value, j is value, but name is 0. If we are passing some different values, then only that other lines of code will execute. See now, see now it is calculated the result, and it is name is printed, length is also printed. Not clear? Yeah. Now Now I am reading this point. Maybe this time you people will understood the clearly maybe this paragraph. Okay. The exception is an abnormal condition which occurs during runtime only. So while uh, when we are facing these exceptions, arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, all those things at the time of running the program, correct? Right or not? That's what during runtime, and it will disturb the normal flow of the program. So wherever exception is coming, it is stopping the execution of the program there itself. Okay, the rest of the lines of code is not executing. Correct or not? Now, these exceptions must be handled to maintain the normal flow of the program. So, if you want to execute the rest of the lines also, compulsory we need to handle that exceptions of the program in the program itself. If the exceptions is not handled properly, the rest of the program will not be executed. Everything that we have seen practically now. Okay. Now, hence, causing the abrupt termination of the program because of that if you are not handling that exception, then it will terminate the program in the middle. That's what the statement abrupt termination of the program means. Therefore, you must handle these exceptions for smooth flow of program. If you handle that exception, our program will execute smoothly without any causes, without any issues. To handle the runtime exceptions, to handle runtime exception, when mechanism is provided by Java, it is called as exception handling. Okay. Now these are exceptions and errors. Exceptions will come. Exception hierarchy. Top class is throwable. Okay, top class is throwable. Under that we have exception and error is there. Errors will come because of errors will come because of just superclass is object for all classes. Under that throwable, one side is exception, other side is error. Okay. Now what is exception? What is error? Now let's calm down. Exception means it is coming, exceptions will come because of our code only. Compulsory, those we need to handle, those we can recoverable if you are handling that exceptions. If you are handling that exceptions, those are recoverable in the program. Okay. Most of the times, exceptions will be caused by our program only. Exceptions will be caused by our program only. Those are recoverable. Recoverable means if you are handling that exception, then those exceptions will not come again. Okay. Now error means most of the times errors will not, errors is caused not because of program. The errors will come because of lack of system resources. Memory is not available. Some resources not available to the program to execute that. Because of those things, system resources, if a program is not running means, then in that case it will throw an error. Okay, these are two exception and error. This is because of code, this is because of system. Okay, system resources. Now again, exception is divided into two types: checked exception and unchecked exception. What is checked exception? Checked exception means at the time of writing the code itself, at the time of this exception is throwing at the time of running. Okay. Now, if I am writing some lines of code, class data, some see, this line is at the time of writing the code itself, it is throwing error. This will call it as a checked exceptions. This will call it as a checked exceptions. Compulsory, the checked exception must be handled by using try and catch, or else we need to throw this here. What is the exception that is throwing here? Class not found exception, right? Throw class not found exception. Then the error is gone. Okay. Now, or else we need to write this code in try and catch, right? Or else we need to write this code in try and catch. Compulsory, anyone we need to do. But in case of a runtime exception, until getting the exception, we don't know whether this statement can throw exception or not. But in this case, compulsory we need to handle that exception at the time of writing the code itself. Okay. That's what it is of checked exceptions. If unchecked exception means compiler will not check. Okay, actually this line of code is will give an error. Okay, if you are not handled, if you are not handle the exceptions. Okay, now if I'm giving it as 0, then at the time of writing the code is not giving any error, right? So those will called as unchecked exception. The exceptions which will not be checked by the compiler at compile time, those are called as unchecked exception. This exception is checked by at the time of compile time itself, so that will called as a compile time exception. This exception is not checked by the compiler at compile time, that will called as a unchecked exceptions. Okay, those will come at runtime only. How to handle that? By using try, catch, throws, finally throws. Now try. Try means what type of statements that we need to write inside try block, guys? Just now we have discussed. Why do we need try block? Guys, why do we need try block? What type of statements will write inside try block? Yes, to handle the exceptions, we need to use of try and catch. So the statements, the lines of code which cause an error, those lines will keep inside try block. Let's say by using try keyword, we can create a block, right? We can create a block. Okay, and we can write all the statements. We can write all the statements or lines of code which needs to be monitored for exception in that block. So it will monitor that. There may be some lines of code that may throw an exception. Those lines we need to keep inside try block for monitoring. If any exception is coming, we can handle that exception. Okay. So who will handle that exception? By using catch block. Correct or not? If any exception is coming here, it will handle that exception by using catch block. Okay. Yes, that's what, right. Throws by this time you should have clear, right? So in this method, I didn't write the try and catch, right? Then the exceptions whatever coming in this method, I'm throwing out of this method. I'm throwing out of this method by using throws keyword. By using throws keyword, these two exceptions will come in this method, arithmetic exception as well as null pointer exception. These two exceptions may rise in some scenarios in this method. Okay, whoever calling this method, who's in the main method, we are calling this method. Okay, please handle that exceptions. Please handle that exceptions. That's what we are giving some intimation to the caller. If you are writing here means, then the caller will understood that. The caller will understood, yes, this method may throw an exception of arithmetic exception and null pointer exception. Compulsory I need to handle those exceptions. So at that time he will handle those exceptions. He will write his own code to handle that exception. Okay, he dot then in that case the throw keyword will be used. Okay, then if you want to some cases, this is throwing because of some code. Okay, some cases you want to throw intentionally, you want to throw some exception intentionally. Okay, then in that case then in that case throw keyword, not throws, throw only, throw new runtime exception. Let's, or else we can say if it is coming as null pointer exception, then in that case we can throw, if you want to throw off throw 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 runtime exception. throwed in, uh, explicitly thrown runtime exception. It doesn't matter what type of it doesn't matter what type of it doesn't matter what type of data that you are passing. You want to throw always the exception. Okay, if you are passing, who also doesn't matter, but always I want to throw some exception intentionally. Okay, then now let's see it is coming or not. It is throwing runtime exception intentionally. The line number 22. So the throw keyword is used to throw an exception explicitly or intentionally in some scenarios. Then in that case we can use of throw keyword. Now let's go and see try block is done, catch block, throw is also done. Sorry, throw, yeah. By using throw, we can throw an exception. We can throw an exception. That means we can create our abnormal situation. So, if exception is throwing means that is abnormal situation, correct or not? So, we can create our own abnormal situation by using throw keyword. Okay, that's what this one. How throw new the exception, whichever the exception that you want to throw, you can throw that. Whichever the exception that you want to throw, you can throw it. Okay, you can give some message. Okay, now throws is also done. Finally, finally is a block. Again, it is a block. When this block will be executed means so the finally block will be executed after completion of try and catch. After completion of try and catch. So if you want to execute if you want to execute some lines of code, if you want to execute some lines of code, always irrespective of any exception is coming or not doesn't matter. If not coming also doesn't matter. But I want to execute some lines of code 100% always. Okay, even the exception also coming also I want to execute this line of code. Even exception not coming also I want to execute of this line of code. Okay, then in that case those lines of code we can keep inside finally block. Then you may get off some doubt. So what type of lines of code that we can keep inside finally block, because this is always executing. So the database or any cleanup activities, any cleanup related activities we can keep inside finally block. Let's say you are trying to get some data from database. Okay, so after getting the data from the database, okay, you may, let's say you are trying to get some data from database. After getting the data, while iterating the data, you may get off some exception. Okay, then after that the exception is the data is received to back to the code. Okay, while doing your processing, while iterating the data in your code, you may get off some exception. Okay, that time after it will throw some exception. Even in that condition also, okay, I want to execute off, I need to close the connection, database connection. Okay, whether you are getting the data or not, it doesn't matter for me. So once your task is completed, compulsory I need to close the database connection, compulsory. So those line of cleanup activities code we can keep inside finally block. The cleanup related tasks we can keep inside finally block. Okay, now let's go and final block will be executed after completion of try and catch block. So this block will be executed irrespective of whether try block throws an exception or not. It doesn't matter exception is coming or not, coming exception is handled or not. It doesn't matter. It will execute always. Those lines of code will be added inside finally block. Okay, and so only single finally block we can't write. Only alone single finally block it is not a correct. Compulsory the finally block should be followed by either try, compulsory try. Okay. So the try block should be followed by this compulsory for writing some try block means only alone try block we can't write. Okay. Compulsory this try block should be right by either catch block or finally block or both also no issue. But without try and without catch, it is not correct. That's what the point of this one. Try block should be followed by either at least one catch block, at least one catch block or finally block. But only one finally block, guys, no multiple. But catch blocks you can keep up multiple. But try block is only one. Okay. And a try block can contains of more than one catch blocks. A try block can contain of more than one catch block. See, this try block contains of two catch blocks. It doesn't matter, but we can't write of we can't write more than one final block at a time. See, sequentially we can't write it. Okay, that is not possible. That's what this one. Is it clear, guys, first today? Sorry. Okay, fine. Now, checked exception or unchecked exception, we'll see more some theoretical also, some more. Okay, the exceptions which are checked by the compiler. Okay, the exceptions that are checked by the compiler for smooth execution of the program is called as checked exceptions. These are some definitions. You can give anyway. If you understood the concept, you can give n number of ways. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now, these exceptions must be handled by using either try and catch. If any checked exceptions is coming, if any checked exceptions are coming means compulsory those exceptions we must handle that exceptions by using try and catch or throws. Try and catch block or by using throws class we need to handle that exception. Otherwise, the compiler will throw an error, compile time error, it will throw it. Okay. What are the examples of checked exception classes? Checked exception class means there is a called exception called there is a exception class called runtime exception. So this runtime exception and all its subclasses and error and all its subclasses. Apart from these two, okay, this runtime exception and its subclasses, error and its subclasses. Apart from these two, rest of all will call it as a checked exceptions. Rest of all will call it as a checked exceptions. Okay. Now let's see. See, this is causing an compile time error. Simply, if you're writing this line of code, simply it will give compile time exception xe test. If you're writing any code, just simply you can write off only this one. Simply it will give error. So it is giving us compile time exception. If any exception at the time of writing means compile time exception. See, and those we need to handle by using try and catch. See below correct way of writing code. Return try and catch. Okay, try and catch is here. Let's keep the cursor there. It will give two options. One is throw the add throws declaration. It will add to the method level. Let's try that. Click on that. See, it is added. Throws class not found exception. Control Z. If you are adding surround with try and catch, surround with try and catch, just click on that. Then that line of code will be go inside try block. See, that line of code is added automatically inside try block. Okay. Now let's come down. Hmm. One more. If this line of this method we are calling in some other place. If method we are calling in some other place, just assume method one. Method one. Let's create that method. Let's write this line of code inside. inside the method, inside this method. Shift F. Then this is also one more way. This is within the method we are handling. That method we are calling inside main method. Okay. This is also within the method is the meaning of this is the exception is handled within the method. Okay. If this method is not handled within the method, then here here we will add it as a throws class not found exception in the method signature level. Okay. Next. Is unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions means at the time of writing the code, at the time of writing the code, compiler don't know whether this line of statement can throw an exception in runtime or not. That doesn't know. Okay, then in that case, we'll call them as unchecked exception or runtime exceptions. See, unchecked exceptions are the exceptions which are known at runtime only. Until executing of that program, we don't know this is a runtime error. Okay. Now, they cannot be known. They don't know. They cannot be identified by the compiler at compile time. They only know at runtime only. They will occur that unchecked exceptions will occur only at runtime. That's why they are also called as runtime exceptions. We'll call the unchecked exceptions also will call it as a runtime exceptions. Okay. The classes all subclasses of runtime exception, all subclasses of error class are unchecked exception classes. Unchecked exception classes. Okay. Now, if any statement in the program throws an unchecked exception, you are not handle that them either by using try catch block or by using throws. Then it does not give at compile time exception. Let's give off. So what code I have written, guys? Here string s equal to IBC. What I am trying to do here? What I am trying? I am converting that s into some number. So by using integer data, parse int of s, I am converting this s into integer. Let's say 10. Okay. Now in this case, let's see whether output is coming or not. What is coming output? 10. Right? If I am trying IBC, something, anything, okay, some string value. So I am trying to convert some string to number. In this case, it is going to give which exception, guys? I am trying to convert some string value into number. Okay. Then what exception it is giving? Number is giving for input string is IPC, but you are trying to convert that string into integer value. That is not possible. That's what it is telling. So until running this program, did you find this one in the compile time? Until at the time of writing the code, we are not able to identify that issue, right? So once it is running the program, then only we got this issue, right? This will call it as a runtime exceptions. Okay, and therefore to avoid the premature termination of the program, you must handle them properly. So we need to identify there may be a chance of if it is a string value, then it will go an number format exception. So we need to handle that by using try and catch or throws class. Then in this case, we can write this line of code inside try block, right? Write this code inside try block if you want. Okay. What are the exception that it is throwing? number format exception. Okay, dot out dot println enough. Give some message. Please parse correct value. Correct value. E dot get message. See, it is not throwing any exception. We handle that exception. So sometimes while testing will come to at runtime only. In that case only we need to handle that exception properly by using try catch block. See, we need to handle by using try catch blocks. Okay. Next. Yeah. What is the difference between try and catch? Sorry. What is the difference between checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions? Okay. Now, checked exception means at the time of compile time only we know that. Okay. This just now we have seen that. They are known at runtime only. Unchecked exception means those will come to know only once we run the program. Those will called as unchecked exceptions or runtime exceptions. Okay. They are checked at compile time. They are not checked at compile time because they occur at only runtime. Okay. Next, these are compile time exceptions. These are runtime exceptions. Okay. If these exceptions are not handled properly, then the compiler will give compile time error at the time of writing the code itself. If these exceptions are not handled properly, they don't give any compile time error, but they will application will be terminated prematurely at runtime. Okay. So compile time won't give any error, but runtime while executing the program, it will stop the program in between, in the middle of the execution. Okay. So for that we'll write off try and catch. Okay. All subclasses of exceptions. Okay. All subclasses of exception class except subclass of runtime exception are checked exceptions. Okay. All subclass of runtime exception as well as error and its subclass are unchecked exceptions. Okay. These are the differences. If you want, I've given some error exception, unchecked exception. These also checked exception. Under exception, checked exceptions will come. And runtime exception, all are unchecked exceptions. I've given some diagrammatically. Okay. Now, next, this we'll see tomorrow, guys. So there may be a single line can throw off multiple exceptions. So in that case, how to handle all those exceptions in a single line or multiple ways with multi-catch, all those things that we'll see in tomorrow's class. Is it okay, guys? Is it clear today? Okay, guys. Yeah, then fine. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.